3, 2, 1.
Once Upon a Time Stories from Leicester Libraries Neighbourhood Services. I'm Matt and I'm here today to tell you a story. I brought with me my fantastic storybook, which I always tie carefully closed to keep those stories safe inside. I don't want them escaping into the world on their own. Let's have a look what I've got for you today. Aha, this is one I think you'll like. It's called Lazy Jack. Now, every culture in the world has got a character that comes up again and again in their stories. You might have heard of Nasruddin Hoja. You might have heard of the spider god Anansi in Africa. Well, in England, it's Jack. Now, you probably know that Jack's been up a beanstalk and found a giant kingdom, or that Jack was a giant slayer. Well, this one is about Lazy Jack. But it starts in a castle with a king and a queen and a princess. And the princess is not happy. She never laughs and she never smiles. She's got all the jewels she could want. She's got toys. She's even got a beautiful white pony to ride across the fields. But nothing seems to cheer her up. The king and the queen try everything. They tell her jokes. They tell her stories. It don't make her smile. They get the jester to come and tell her jokes and tell her stories. Still don't make her smile. They're at their wits' end. What are we going to do to make our beautiful daughter smile? And the king does what kings did in those days. And he sends out a decree that says, if anyone comes who can make my daughter laugh or even smile, they will win her hand in marriage. And when I'm gone, they will inherit my entire kingdom and be the king in my place. Now, on the edge of the town, there's a poor old lady who lives with her son, Jack. And as you already know, Jack is a lazy boy. Jack doesn't want to do anything. In the heat of the summer, he just sits on the porch and warms his lazy bones in the sun. And in the winter, it's not much different, apart from he does the warming in front of the fire. And his mother's at his wit's end. What am I going to do with this boy? I can't keep feeding this great hulking lout if he doesn't go out and do something. And eventually she thinks there's nothing to do. So she says to him, Jack, I've been down and I've had a word with a local farmer, and on Monday you're starting work. But mum, I'll have none of it, she says. If you don't go and get this job, you're out. You'll have to go out into the world and find your fortune on your own. Well, there's no choice for it. So on Monday, Jack heads off to the farm. The farmer gives him jobs to do, and he works through the heat of the day. And at the end of the day, the farmer, he's surprised but fairly impressed. He says, Jack, you've not done bad, lad. You've done all right. Here's your wages for the day. And he hands Jack a single gold coin. Well, Jack's over the moon. He's never had any money of his own before. He heads off home and he flicks the coin in the air, watching the sunlight glint as it spins and lands in his hand. And he skips home. And as he comes to the stream, he jumps and flicks and plop into the stream the coin goes. Well, he scrabbles around and he's soaked, but he cannot find this coin amongst the rocks at the bottom of the stream. And he heads off home, not quite so happy anymore. Hello, Jack, says his mum when he gets home. Did you do your job? Yes, ma'am, he says, I did. And did you get paid? Yes, ma'am, I did. She says, come on then, hand it over and I'll cook your favourite dinner. She says, well, ma'am, I'm coming home. And I jumped the stream and I flicked the coin in the air and plop! In the stream it went and I couldn't find it, ma'am. I'm ever so sorry. She said, Jack, you stupid boy. And her face went pink. And her face went red, and her face went purple, and she said, next time you get paid, you need to put it in your pocket. Straight in your pocket. I will, mum, he says. So the next day comes, and Jack goes off to work on the farm. And he works all day through the heat of the day, and at the end of the day, the farmer says, you've done all right, lad. You've not done bad. You've done a good job. Here's your wages. And he gives him a beautiful jug of fresh, creamy milk. And Jack thinks, oh, lovely. Now, what did my mum say? I know. in me pocket. He pulls open his pocket and he pours the milk in. And it's all down his leg in a wet mess. And he heads off home. And his mum says, "Hello, Jack. Did you do your day's work?" "Yes, Mum, I did," he says. "And did you get paid?" "Yes, Mum, I did," he says. "So come on then, hand it over. Where is it?" He says, "Well, Mum, you told me to put it in my pocket. It was a jug of milk and I put it in my pocket. And now look, I've just got a wet leg." She says, "Jack, you stupid boy." And her face goes red, and her face goes pink, and her face goes purple. "Next time, when you get paid, I want you to think about it and carry it up on your head. That's what you do with a jug of milk, up on your head. Carry it home carefully." "I will do, Mum," he says. "I will, I promise." Next day comes, and Jack goes off to the farm. Farmer gives him some jobs, and he works all day through the heat of the day. And the evening comes, and the farmer's pretty happy with him. He's done all right. He says, "Jack, I've got your wages. I've got you this beautiful block of yellow butter." And Jack thinks, "What did my mum say?" She said, "I've got to put it up on my head." So that's what he does. He puts this block of butter up on his head and he sets off home through the heat of the day. But it's still warm and the butter starts to melt and it runs down into his hair and all down his face. And he gets home and his mum doesn't even have to ask. She says, "Jack, what have you done? What have you done? Where's your wages?" He says, "Mum, you told me to put it on my head, but it was a block of butter and it was hot still." She says, "I can see, you stupid boy." And her face goes red and her face goes pink and her face goes purple. And she says, "Jack, the very next time you get paid, you need to wrap it carefully in a piece of paper and bring it home in your hands." So the next day comes and Jack goes off to the farm and he does his day's work in the heat of the day. And in the evening the farmer says, "Jack, you've not done bad, lad. Here's your wages. I've got for you this beautiful ginger tomcat. He's a fantastic ratter. It'll keep all the rats and mice out of your grain store." And Jack thinks, "What did my mum say? I know. I've got to wrap it in paper and carry it home in my hands." And he tries to wrap up this cat and the cat riddles and scratches. And he tries and he can't manage to get this cat wrapped up in paper. And eventually the cat scratches him and he lets go and it shoots off into the bushes, never to be seen again. And off he goes home. And he gets home and his mum says, "Jack, did you do your day's work?" He says, "Yes, Mum, I did." She says, "Jack, did you get paid?" He says, "Yes, Mum, I did." She says, "Come on then, hand it over and I'll cook your favourite dinner." He says, "But Mum, it was a ginger tomcat and you told me to wrap it in paper and I tried and it scratched me and it scratched me and it scratched me and I let it go and it shot off into the bushes." She says, "Jack, you stupid boy." And her face goes red and then it goes pink and then it goes purple. She says, "Next time you get paid, you need to tie it up with a piece of string and bring it along, trotting behind you." Well, the next day comes and Jack goes off to the farm. And he does his day's work in the heat of the sun. And in the evening, the farmer says, "Jack, you've not done bad, lad. And for you today, I've got this fabulous leg of mutton." And Jack thinks, "What did my mum say?" She says, "Tie it up with string." So he ties a piece of string around the end of the bone and he sets off home with the mutton dragging along behind him. And when he gets home, his mum says, "Jack, did you do your day's work?" He says, "Yes, Mum, I did." She says, "Do you get paid?" He says, "Yes, Mum, I did." She says, "Come on then, hand it over." And he holds it, and all that's left is a dirty old bone. He says, "But Mum, you told me to tie it up with string and that's exactly what I did." And she said, "Jack, you stupid boy." And her face goes pink and her face goes red and her face goes purple. She says, "Next time, just put it over your shoulder and carry it home like a man." Well, the next day comes and it's the end of the working week. And Jack goes to the farm and he works through the heat of the day. And the farmer says to him at the end of the day, "Jack, you've been a good lad. You've done a good week's work. And for today, I've got a very special wages for you. I've got this beautiful donkey. And I'm going to give you this donkey. And from now on, when you come to work, you won't have to walk. You'll be able to ride." So Jack looks at the donkey and he thinks, "Well, what did my mum say?" She said, "I know." She said, "Put it up on your shoulder." Well, he looks at this donkey and he thinks, "I'm a strong lad, but I don't know." He gets underneath And he manages to get the donkey up on his shoulder. And he sets off home under the weight of this donkey. Now, what I've not told you yet is that each day on the way to and from the farm, Jack has to walk by the palace. And as he walks by the palace on this day, looking out the window is the princess. And she sees this lad with a donkey on his shoulder, legs sticking up in the air, kicking, donkey, ee-haw, ee-haw, going mad. And a little smile appears on the corners of her mouth. And then it turns into a grin, and before long she's laughing, and the tears of laughter are rolling down her face, and the king and queen hear it, and they can't believe it. They go running to see what's happened, and there she is, she's on the floor laughing. And they look out the window and they see what it is that's made her laugh, and they send the chamberlain out, fetch that man, and they fetch Jack in. He said, you have met my decree. You've made my daughter laugh. You're the only person who's ever done it. You shall have her hand in marriage, and you shall be king after me. And after that, they lived happily ever after. And despite her sharp tongue, Jack still builds his mother a granny annex, although it's right at the far end of the garden. That's been Lazy Jack, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, go off and share it with your friends. Thanks for having me. Bye.